Tom lived on a quiet farm, far from the noise of the city. He liked the peace every morning. He woke up early, fed the animals, and worked in the fields at night. He would sit on his wooden porch, drink warm tea, and look at the stars. He didn't care much for the news or for stories about space. His world was simple. His world was the soil, the sky, and the animals that needed him. But everything changed on a cold night in late autumn. The sky was dark, and the wind was quiet. Tom had just finished stacking hay in the barn. He was walking back to his house when he heard something, a soft sound like air moving quickly. Then a light flashed behind the trees. He stopped. It was not lightning. It was not a car. It was something else. Tom walked slowly toward the barn again. He picked up his old flashlight and pointed it at the door. That's when he heard the knock. It was not loud. It was soft, almost gentle. He waited. Another knock came, steady and slow. He opened the door. A tall woman stood there. She looked young and calm. Her skin had a soft, light tone that didn't match any human he had ever seen. Her eyes were rich teal in color, like deep ocean water. She had long dark hair, and she wore a silver cloak that looked smooth like water. She didn't look afraid. She looked like she had come with purpose. Tom stepped back. "Who are you?" The woman looked at him and said, "They sent me for you." Her voice was clear, not robotic, not cold, just calm and sure. Tom stared at her. "What? Who sent you? Are you from some kind of show or game? This a prank?" She shook her head. "No prank. I'm Mira. I come from Oria." Tom blinked. "Where's that?" "Some country I've never heard of." She looked up at the sky. "Not from your world. Not from this planet." Tom laughed, but it didn't feel like a real laugh. It was nervous. He looked around. No cameras. No neighbors hiding in the dark. No sounds except the wind. "You're saying you're not from Earth?" Mira nodded. "That is correct." He didn't know what to say. "Why me?" "You carry something in your blood," she said. "Something that connects to us. We saw it. We followed it, and I was sent to bring you back." Tom shook his head. "You must be confused. I'm just a farmer. I don't have anything special in my blood. Never even been to the city much. Never done anything strange." "You are not strange," Mira said. "You're needed." Tom looked at her again. She didn't seem like she was lying. Her eyes didn't shift. Her hands didn't shake. She stood like someone who had made a long journey and was ready for the next step. Tom sighed. "This is crazy. You're telling me you flew here from another planet just to find me? Why didn't you land at the capital or a space station or something?" "I chose the quiet path," she said. "I came alone. You would not trust me if I brought a group." He had to admit that was true. Tom scratched his head. "Okay, let's say I believe you. Where's your ship?" Mira pointed behind the trees. Tom followed her as they walked through the field. The air was cool, and the sky was filled with stars. At the edge of the trees, hidden in the tall grass, he saw a dot that looked like a smooth silver egg. Half buried in the ground, it didn't glow, it didn't make a sound, but it gave off a strange warmth when they came near it. The surface was smooth with no windows or doors, but when Mira placed her hand on it, a small entrance opened. Tom stepped back. "That's real." She nodded. "It is." He didn't know what to say. His mind was spinning. This wasn't a trick. It wasn't a dream. There was a real ship in his field, and a real alien woman was asking him to leave Earth. Mira looked at him. "I understand this is sudden. You may ask questions." Tom shook his head slowly. "You came all this way. You said you were sent." "Why me?" "I don't get it." "You will," Mira said. "But we must leave soon. Others will come. They may not be as kind." That made Tom pause. "Others?" She didn't answer right away. "Please." "Time is short." Tom looked back at his house, then at the barn. His whole life was here, simple, quiet, peaceful. But something deep inside him pulled forward. Something that said, "Go." He looked at Mira again. She was not smiling, but she was patient. She looked like someone who carried hope. "Okay," Tom said, "but I'm bringing my coat." Mira gave a small nod. Wise choice. They walked back to the barn. Tom grabbed his coat, his boots, and one photo of his grandfather. Then they returned to the silver ship. When the door closed behind them, the ship lifted without sound. The stars above began to move, and Earth slowly fell behind. Tom looked through a soft, clear panel and whispered, "What have I just done?" Mira stood beside him and said, "You answered the call." And with that, the journey began. Tom sat quietly inside the ship. Everything felt strange, but also calm. The inside walls were smooth and silver, without buttons or screens. The air smelled clean, almost like fresh rain. He was sitting on a soft seat that shaped itself around him. Mira sat beside him, watching the stars as they moved outside the clear wall. "Where are we going?" Tom asked. "To Oria," Mira replied. Tom leaned forward. "And where is that? A planet, a ship, a moon?" "A planet far from Earth," she said. "It takes time to reach. But this ship moves faster than light." Tom looked outside. The stars were no longer small dots. They stretched into long lines, moving like rivers of light. He had never seen anything like it. "Why me?" Tom asked again. "Why not someone smarter? Or someone trained for space?" Mira turned toward him. "Your name was found in the ancient code. A pattern deep inside your DNA. It matches something we lost long ago." Tom looked confused. "I don't understand. I'm just a farmer. I've never done anything special." "You live close to the land," Mira said. "You listen. You are calm. And you carry the mark." Tom stared at her. "What mark?" Mira raised her hand. A light appeared above her palm. It showed a glowing symbol, 3 curved lines connected by a circle in the center. Then she pointed to a spot just under Tom's left collarbone. "There," she said. "You have it inside." Tom touched the spot. He couldn't feel anything. But her words stayed in his mind. She continued, "Long ago, our people shared knowledge with humans. Not all, just a few. Those chosen carried the mark in their blood. But time passed. The mark was forgotten. Until now." Tom leaned back in his seat. "So you're saying someone from your world came to Earth before?" Mira nodded. "Yes, a long time ago. He tried to take it in. And now you need help." "Again we are facing division," Mira said. "Two sides fight for control. Some want peace. Others want power. The mark you carry means something to both sides. They believe the one with the mark will choose the path forward." Tom frowned. "That sounds like too much for one person. You are not alone." She said, "I am here to guide you." Tom stayed quiet for a while. The stars outside turned blue, then silver, then dark again. It was like moving through a river of light. After some time, Mira stood and walked to a wall. She placed her hand on it, and a large map appeared. It showed planets, moons, and paths between stars. One red line moved from Earth to a bright blue world. Orcs. Mira touched the blue planet. It glowed. Then the map zoomed in, showing cities and towers. One tower was larger than the rest. It stood on a floating island above the sea. "That is the Sky Hall," she said. "Where the council meets." Tom walked closer. "And they're waiting for me." "Yes," she said. "Some want to welcome you. Others want to stop you." Tom looked at the city. It was beautiful, but far too big for someone like him. "What am I supposed to do there?" "Listen. Speak. Truth. Make a choice when the time comes." Tom turned to her. "What if I make the wrong choice?" She looked at him with calm eyes. "Then we face what comes, together, for the first time." Tom didn't feel afraid. He still didn't understand everything, but he knew Mira believed in him. Mira moved her hand again, and the map disappeared. In its place, a set of glowing lines appeared in the air. It looked like writing, but not in English. "This is the message," Mira said. "What does it say?" "It says, 'He who carries the mark will stand at the gate. His words will open or close the stars.'" Tom stared at the message. "I'm not good with riddles." "It is not a riddle," she said. "It is a warning and a hope." Tom sat back down. The ship was quiet. No sound, no hum, just peace. After a while, he spoke again. "How long until we reach your planet?" 3 days, Earth time, Mira said. Tom looked at her. "Can I send a message back home? Tell someone I'm okay?" Mira nodded and walked to a small round table. She touched it, and a soft blue screen appeared. "Speak when ready," she said. Tom took a deep breath. "Hi, if anyone sees this, I'm fine. I left Earth with someone named Mira. She's kind. I don't know where we're going, but I think it's important. I didn't plan this. I just followed a feeling. I'll come back, I hope." Mira sent the message through the stars. Tom smiled a little. "Thanks. You are brave," she said. "I don't feel brave." "Bravery is not the same as fearlessness," she said. "Bravery is moving forward even when afraid." Tom sat in silence, thinking about her words. He looked outside again. The stars now moved slowly, and a soft blue light surrounded the ship. He whispered, "Let's hope this mark of mine means something good." Mira stood beside him and said, "I believe it does." And the ship moved on, through space, toward a world that waited for a human they never expected. The ship began to slow as it reached the edge of Oria's space. Tom looked out through the clear wall. The stars had stopped moving fast, and now a giant planet filled his view. It was not like Earth. It was larger, with green oceans, silver clouds, and islands that floated above the land. A soft light shined from the planet's surface, and the air around it sparkled gently. "That's your home?" Tom asked. Mira nodded. "Yes, this is Oria." Tom couldn't stop staring. He had never imagined a place like this. Some of the islands in the sky had tall towers, and strange ships moved between them. The colors were soft but bright like a dream he didn't want to wake from. As they got closer, Mira touched the wall again. A soft line of light moved across the air. "The council has been told. They know we're arriving." Tom looked unsure. "And they're ready to meet me." "They are ready," Mira said, "but not all will welcome you." The ship entered the sky of Oria. There was no shaking or noise. It floated gently between clouds and passed over mountains that glowed with silver blue trees. Below, Tom saw cities built on cliffs and lakes. In the center of it all was the largest floating island he had seen. "That's the Sky Hall," Mira said, "where the leaders of Oria meet." The ship moved toward the island. When it landed, the door opened slowly. Tom stepped out onto a wide platform. The floor was smooth like glass, but it didn't feel slippery. A cool breeze passed by. The air smelled fresh, like flowers and clean water. Waiting for them was a group of tall Orions. They wore long robes and had calm faces. Some looked curious, others looked cold. One of them stepped forward. He had silver markings on his face and short white hair. "You are the human?" Tom nodded slowly. "Yes, my name is Tom." "I'm Selen," the man said, a voice of the council. Selen looked at Mira. "You brought him here without full agreement." Mira stayed calm. "He had to come." The mark appeared. "You all saw the signs." Selen didn't answer right away. Then he said, "He will be tested." Tom stepped forward. "Tested how?" Selen looked at him. "You will go through the Hall of Memory. There you will face what was, what is, and what could be. If you pass, you will speak to the council. If you fail, you will return to your world." Tom nodded. "All right." Selen turned and led them through a large archway. The halls were quiet. The walls were made of crystal, and lights moved inside them like flowing rivers. They reached a door made of dark stone. "This is the Hall of Memory," Selen said. "You must enter alone. Stay inside until the light turns green. We will not interfere." Tom looked at Mira. She gave him a small nod. "Trust yourself." He took a deep breath and stepped through the door. It closed behind him. Inside, everything was dark. Then a soft light appeared under his feet. A voice spoke, calm and even. "Welcome, Tom. You will now face the memory of Oria and Earth." Suddenly, images filled the room. He saw wars, humans and Orions fighting in old times. He saw hands reaching out in peace, then pulling away in fear. He saw a child crying under a broken tree. Then he saw two people, one human, one Orion building a bridge together. The images changed. Tom saw his own life, his mother feeding animals, his father teaching him to plant seeds. He saw himself as a boy, helping a hurt bird. He saw his grandfather showing him old books and strange star maps. The voice returned. "Choose one moment to carry forward." Tom thought for a while. Then he pointed at the moment where the human and Orion built the bridge. The image froze. The light turned green. The door opened. Tom walked out slowly. He felt tired, but something inside him was calm. Mira waited outside. She smiled when she saw him. Selen looked at him. You passed? Barely. But you passed? Tom raised an eyebrow. Barely. You didn't know the answers. Selen said, but you chose the path of kindness each time. Tom shrugged. I only did what felt right. Another council member stepped forward. She was tall and wore a blue robe. That is why he passed. Selen nodded. Very well. He may stay. For now. Tom looked around. What happens next? Mira stepped beside him. Now we prepare you to speak. Speak to who? The full council. And the people? Tom sighed. I thought being a farmer was hard. Mira smiled. This is different, but I will help. You? Tom looked out at the floating city around him. The sky above was soft gold, and the towers of Oria stood tall and strong. He had only been here for a short time, but already it felt like something important was happening. He didn't understand everything, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't just a visitor anymore. He was part of something bigger. The sun on Oria was brighter the next morning, but the air stayed cool and fresh. Tom stood near a wide balcony of the sky hall, looking down at the floating city below. Ships moved slowly through the air, and groups of Orions walked across silver bridges. The world looked peaceful, but Tom knew something important was coming. Today was the trial of minds. Mira joined him on the balcony. She wore a soft white robe with silver lines. Her eyes were calm, but Tom could see she was thinking deeply. You didn't sleep much, Mira said. Tom nodded. Too many thoughts. That's normal, she said. The trial is not easy. Tom turned toward her. What if I fail? Then you return to Earth, Mira said. But even then, you would return changed. No one leaves the trial the same. Tom stayed quiet for a moment. What's inside the trial? You will face voices, Mira said. Not just sounds. You will hear questions. Some will come from your memories, others from Orion history. Some may not be true. Some may come from your fears. You must listen and choose your answers with care. Tom gave a small nod. All right, I'll try. Mira placed her hand on his shoulder. That's all you need to do. A tall Orion guard arrived. He gave a respectful nod. The chamber is ready. Tom followed him through long halls made of soft stone and glowing crystal. They reached a round door. The walls around it were carved with symbols and images, people talking, sharing, learning. The door opened with a soft sound. Inside was a large round room. The floor was smooth, and the ceiling was high. In the center stood a single chair made of clear stone. Tom stepped. Inside sit, the guard said. Tom walked to the chair and sat down. The door closed behind him. At first, the room was quiet. Then the air changed. A soft hum filled the space, and a cool light circled the chair. A voice spoke. It was not Mira's voice. It was deep, and it felt like it came from inside his mind. Begin. Tom saw nothing in front of him, but he felt something around him. A question came. What is more important, peace or truth? Tom took a breath. Peace. Why? Because peace gives people time to find truth. The voice paused. Then, another question came. You see two people. One is hungry, the other is angry. You can only speak to one. Who do you speak to? Tom thought carefully. The hungry one. Why? Because hunger can turn into anger. If I help the hungry person, maybe I stop the problems instead of one. Again, silence. Then a new voice spoke. It was softer. You have never been in a war. Why should we trust your thoughts? Tom answered, because I've seen people fight, not with weapons, but with words, with pride, with silence. I know how much harm that can do. A new scene appeared before him. He saw his grandfather's farm. The fields were dry. His younger self stood beside his grandfather, holding a bucket of water. A voice asked, You have one bucket of water. Your crops need it, but your neighbor's crops are worse. What do you do? Tom replied, I give the bucket to the neighbor, even if it costs your own field. Tom nodded. Yes, because tomorrow he might help me back. The scene disappeared. Another question followed. What if the neighbor never helps you? Tom answered, that's his choice. Mine was to do what I thought was right. More questions came. They were not easy. Some made Tom doubt himself. Some made him feel small. But each time, he stayed calm. He didn't rush. He didn't pretend to know everything. He spoke from the heart. Then came a question that made him pause. Would you choose your planet over Oria if the two were in danger? Tom stayed silent. The room was quiet. Finally, he said, I would try to save both. If I can't, I would choose the one that listens, the one that is willing to change. The light around the chair grew brighter. A final voice spoke. The trial is complete. The door opened. Mira stood there. Her face was calm, but her eyes watched him closely. Tom walked out. He looked tired, but steady. Selen stood nearby with other council members. You have passed. Tom raised an eyebrow. Just like that? No, Selen said. Not just like that. You were tested in ways that cannot be explained with words. You made your choices. They were not always perfect, but they were honest. Another council member stepped forward. You do not carry power. You carry thought. You do not pretend to lead. You offer peace. That is what we hoped. Mira looked at Tom. You did well. Tom gave a small smile. I didn't know what to say sometimes. I just said what I believed. That was enough, Mira said. Selen nodded. You will now speak to the full council in 3 days. Rest until then. Learn what you can. Tom looked up at the sky above. Oria, the clouds moved slowly, and the sun gave off a soft gold light. He had faced questions he never expected, but he had answered with truth, with care, and with hope. And now, the next step waited. Tom spent the next 2 days learning about Oria. Mira showed him the sky gardens where plants floated in the air. She took him to the water bridges that moved across the sea without sinking. He met young Orions who asked him about Earth. Some were kind and full of questions. Others stayed quiet and watched him from a distance, even in this peaceful place. Tom could feel tension growing. There were whispers in the halls of the Sky Hall. Some people didn't trust him. Some didn't want a human walking freely among them. One evening, Mira and Tom sat near a small lake on a high terrace. The sky above them was filled with soft blue clouds, and stars blinked slowly in the distance. Do you think they'll listen to me? Tom asked. Mira looked out at the water. Some will. Others already decided not to. Why? There are people who fear change, she said, and some who fear peace. Tom looked at her. That doesn't make sense. To them, it does, she replied. There's a group here called the Dra. They believe Oria should stand alone. They do not want connection with Earth or any other world. Tom sat quietly. Have they done anything? Not yet, Mira said. But I believe they will soon. That same night, the danger became real. Tom had returned to his room to rest. The lights were dim, and the walls hummed softly. He was about to lie down when he heard a strange sound like a whisper behind the wall. Before he could move, a flash of light filled the room. A small device flew from the ceiling. It moved fast, but not fast enough. Mira burst into the room, raised her hand, and a shield of light formed between Tom and the device. The device hit the shield and exploded with a bright pulse. Mira was thrown to the ground. Tom rushed to her. Mira. She was awake but hurt. Her arm shook, and the shield had vanished. Guards arrived quickly and sealed the room. One of them shouted into a device, calling for help. Tom held Mira's hand. Stay with me, please. I'm all right, she said, her voice weak. Just stunned. I stopped it. Who sent it? The Dra, Mira whispered. They don't want you to speak. They want fear to win. Tom sat beside her until the healers came. They placed Mira on a floating bed and carried her to the healing room. Tom tried to follow, but the guards stopped him. You must remain here, one said. It's not safe. Tom looked back at the door where Mira had been taken. He had never felt this kind of worry before. It wasn't just fear for himself. It was fear for someone who had protected him, someone who believed in him. The next morning, the council met in a closed room. Tom was called in. The members sat in a wide Circle. Selen stood in the center. You were attacked last night, Selen said. This was not a mistake. It was a message. Tom looked around. A message to me, Selen nodded. And to us, the draw sent a warning. They believe you are a danger to Oria. Tom stood tall. I came to help. I didn't ask to be here. But I won't walk away just because some group is afraid of peace. Another council member stood. Her name was Vale. She had a soft voice but strong eyes. You showed courage last night, not because you fought, but because you stayed. That matters. Selen turned to the others. We must decide. Do we let him speak before the people, as planned? Or do we send him back for his own safety? Silence filled the room. Then Vale spoke. He should speak. The people must hear him. Let them decide for themselves. Others nodded in agreement. Selen finally said, Very well, in 2 days. He will speak to the people of Oria. Tom felt the weight of their words. He had never spoken to a crowd before, not even in his hometown. Now he was about to stand before an entire planet. Later, he was allowed to visit Mira. The healing room was bright and peaceful. Mira lay on a soft bed, with gentle light moving across her skin. She opened her eyes and smiled. You're safe. So are you, Tom said, sitting beside her. Thank you. You saved my life. You would have done the same, she replied. Tom looked down. They don't want me to speak. They think I'll bring trouble. You'll bring change. Mira said, That's what they fear. I don't even know what to say. Speak from your heart. She said, Like you did. In the trial. That's enough. Tom stayed with her until the sun set outside the window. The light turned soft pink, and the stars began to appear. He stood and took a deep breath. Then I'll speak. Not for me, but for the chance you gave me. Mira smiled. That's all anyone can ask. As Tom left the healing room, he looked up at the stars. They no longer seemed far. He wasn't just a visitor anymore. He was part of something real. And now, the whole world would listen. The morning of the speech arrived. The sky over Oria was clear and golden. The floating city moved slowly above the sea, and the great towers of the sky hall stood tall in the soft light. Tom stood on a high platform in front of the council hall. In the distance, crowds gathered. Ships floated in the air, holding people who wanted to watch from above. He looked out at the sea of faces. Orions of all kinds had come, young ones, elders, workers, and students. Some looked curious. Others looked unsure. But all of them waited to hear what he had to say. Behind him stood the council members, dressed in long robes. Mira sat nearby, in a chair, still recovering, but her eyes were strong. She gave him a small nod. Tom stepped forward. He wore a simple robe they gave him, and he held no notes. He had practiced, but now the words came from his heart. He began, My name is Tom. I come from a small place on Earth. I'm not a leader. I'm not a hero. I'm a farmer. I lived a quiet life before Mira came to my door and told me I was needed. He paused and looked around. The crowd listened. I didn't believe her at first. I didn't think I was important, but I followed her, not because I wanted power, but because she believed in something bigger than fear. He took a breath. She said I carried a mark that connects our two worlds. I don't fully understand it, but I do understand this piece is something worth reaching for. It's something we grow, like a seed. It takes care. It takes time. It takes courage. People in the crowd nodded slowly. Some leaned forward. I've seen how people fight. On Earth, we argue over small things. On Oria, I see the same fears. We are not so different. Some people are afraid of change. Some people believe peace makes them weak, but I don't believe that. His voice grew a little stronger. Peace is not weakness. Peace is strength with open hands. It is standing up when others walk away. It is speaking with calm when others shout. The wind moved gently over the platform. I'm not here to rule. I'm not here to speak for Earth. I am here because someone knocked on my door and asked for help. I am here because kindness brought me. And if there's a chance that Oria and Earth can walk together instead of apart, then I will take that chance. He looked at the council behind him. I don't ask you to trust me without reason. I only ask you to listen to your own hope. Listen to the part of you that wants something better for your children, your neighbors, your world." Tom finished with quiet words. "If my voice can help open a door between us, then let it be heard. If not, I will still return home thankful for the chance to stand here, and for the kindness I found in your skies." He stepped back. The platform fell silent. For a long moment, no one moved. Then a soft sound came from the crowd. It grew. First claps, then cheers. Some stood. Some raised their hands. Even those who were unsure seemed to pause and think. Mira smiled. Selin, the lead council member, stepped forward. He raised his hand. The noise settled. "Today, we hear not just a voice, but a heart," Selin said. "The council will now decide." The council members moved to a round table inside the hall. It was known as the decision table. Around it were seats of smooth stone and silver light. Tom and Mira waited outside as the doors closed. Inside, voices rose. Some were firm, some were calm. Each member spoke their view. Selin listened to each word. One council member said, "He is simple, but sometimes simple words are the clearest." Another said, "He has no power, but he showed more courage than many who lead." A few still doubted. One voice said, "He is human, not Orion. We must protect our way." Selin spoke last. He spoke not to rule, but to unite. That is rare. That is needed. Then came the vote. Each council member placed a stone on one side of the table. One side meant yes, the other meant no. The stones glowed softly. When the vote ended, the doors opened. The crowd waited. Selan stood tall. "The council has spoken." He paused. Then he said, "We accept the human as connector." The crowd let out a deep cheer. Flags were lifted. Lights danced in the sky. Tom stood still, unsure what to do. Mira stood and walked to him. "It's done," she said. "They chose peace." Tom looked out at the people. "I hope I don't let them down." "You won't." Mira said, "You already showed them what they forgot. You reminded them that hope doesn't come from power. It comes from choice." Tom stood at the edge of the platform. Below him, Oria shined like a world ready to begin again. And above him, stars watched in silence as two worlds took one step closer together. Tom stood on the landing pad beside Mira, looking out at the Earthship waiting for him. The sky above Oria was soft and bright. The wind was warm. Round them, people watched quietly. The decision had been made. Tom had spoken. The council had accepted peace. And now it was time to go home. Tom held a small silver token in his hand. It was a gift from the Council of Oria. On one side was the mark of the connector. On the other side, the image of two stars joining in the sky. "You really think this will work?" he asked Mira. "It already has," she said. "You came. You stood before them. You spoke without fear. That was the first step." He looked at the silver ship. It was the same one that brought him here weeks ago. It looked different now, not because it had changed, but because he had. "I feel like a different person," Tom said. "You are." Mira said gently, "You still carry Earth in your heart, but now you carry Oria too." Tom looked at her. "What about you?" "I'll stay here," Mira said. "My place is here. I helped bring you. Now I help guide what comes next." Tom nodded slowly. "I'll tell them everything about you, about this place, about the choice they have." "You don't need to convince them," she said. "Just show them the truth. The rest will follow." A soft sound came from behind them. Selin, the council leader, stepped forward. He held a long staff with a glowing tip. "Tom," he said, "you leave as a visitor, but you return as a bridge. Our worlds are still far apart, but now a path is opened. I'll try not to fail," Tom said. Selin smiled kindly. Trying is the beginning of peace. Other Orions came forward. Some offered small gifts. Others simply bowed their heads in respect. A young girl handed Tom a folded cloth. It had two stars stitched in thread, one blue, one white. Tom bent down. "Thank you. You helped us." The girl said, "You're one of us now." He stood and smiled. His heart felt full. Soon, it was time. The ramp to the ship opened with a soft hum. Tom turned to Mira one last time. "Thank you for coming to my door." She gave a soft smile. "Thank you for opening it." He stepped onto the ramp as it rose. He looked down at the people of Oria, standing together, some waving, some simply watching. Mira stood at the front, her hand raised. The ship rose slowly, then lifted into the sky. Tom sat by the window, watching the floating city shrink into the clouds. The towers grew small, then vanished in light. Above, stars blinked gently. He leaned back in the seat. For the first time in days, he felt at peace. The ship entered Earth's orbit smoothly. Tom saw his planet through the window, green, blue, and full of life. His heart beat faster. The landing was quiet. A field outside his hometown had been cleared. Officials stood nearby, unsure of what to expect. But when Tom stepped out, they ran toward him. "Tom," someone said, "you're back. Where have you been?" Tom smiled. "I have a story to tell." They brought him to a nearby center. Cameras were ready. News people waited. Leaders wanted answers. But Tom didn't rush. He asked for time. He asked for calm. That evening, he stood in front of a crowd just like he had on Oria. But this time, the people were his own. His neighbors, his friends, farmers, teachers, children died. He spoke clearly. "I was taken by someone who needed help. Not for war, not for power, but for peace. I went to another world. I met people like us. People with fears and hopes. People who want to live without fear." He told them everything about Mira, about the council, about the mark, about the choice he was given. He spoke of peace, of courage, of kindness. "Sometimes," he said, "the ones who are called don't feel ready. But maybe being ready isn't what matters. Maybe what matters is saying yes." When he finished, there was silence. Then someone clapped, then more. People rose to their feet. The next days were busy. People from across the world came to speak with Tom. Some were excited, others were unsure. Some feared change, but most were curious. A message was sent to Oria through the same path Mira used. A signal of friendship, a signal of new beginning. Months passed. Then a small ship arrived from Oria. This time, it carried not just Orions, but tools for learning, books, and shared dreams. They met with Earth leaders. They walked through cities. They listened. And always, Tom was there to guide the way. He still lived in his small home. He still grew food. But sometimes, at night, he would walk outside and look at the stars. He thought of Mira, of the girl who gave him the cloth, of the moment he first stepped into the silver ship. One night, a light appeared in the sky. It was soft, like a falling star. But it did not fall. It rose. And in that moment, Tom knew this was only the beginning. A new path had opened between two worlds, not just through ships or signs, but through people, through courage, through a knock on a door answered with hope.